live and direct.
Hello there. On Ringside tonight, a world boxing exclusive, and they really do not come more explosive than this one. Prince Naseem Hamed gives his side of the row with Brendan Ingle, his lifelong trainer. Of course, big-name fighters involved in splits is nothing new. Barry McGuigan is only one of many former world champions who can vouch for that. Barry's views later. But one question now is whether things can ever be the same. Also coming up, the latest on the big deal of the week. Lewis against Holyfield, the fight the whole planet wants to see. It's closer, but it's not all signed just yet. Frank Maloney joins us later to tell us what is happening. But first, the row between Prince Naseem Hamed and Brendan Ingle. With the next world title defence only a fortnight away, their career-long partnership has been upset by the revelations in the Paddy and the Prince, the insider account of their relationship by author Nick Pitt. Ingle claimed Naseem was difficult to work with, that Naseem belittled him in public, and that there were several rows over money. Naseem's response comes in an extraordinary and candid interview with Sky's Adam Smith.
Well, Naz, there's been massive controversy, revelations coming out in this book by Nick Pitt. It says that you and Brenda are in trouble. Is that true?
Not at all. We're not in trouble at all, because I know what this man is. After 17 years, I've realised that Brendan is totally and utterly money-orientated.
Don't quite think we've seen Naseem Hamed like that before, do you? Adam Smith with Naseem and family there. Very emotional stuff. When we come back, there's more of it. Barry McGuigan's views, and we give Brendan Ingle the right to reply.
Answer the question now. Are you a Judas?
Never been, never was, and never will be. The straightest fella in the boxing ring.
Welcome back. So we've heard from Naseem Hamed, now for Brendan Ingle. Naseem will soon be heading off to the States to complete preparations for the McCulloch fight. Meantime, in the Ingle gym in Sheffield, Brendan's son Dominic has been taking a lead role preparing Naseem, and his brother John has also been working with him. Word is that Naseem has been in diligently preparing at 7 every day, leaving Brendan with only a supervisory role. But here's his right to reply with Adam Smith.
What is your relationship with Naseem Hamed? Is there one anymore?
Of course there is. As I said before, my job's not to be nice. We've had arguments and disputes from the time he was 7. This is what it's all about. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. My job is to constructively criticise. The truth always hurts, no matter what it is. We must tell the truth of what went off. And
you told the truth?
Well, the truth was in there, the book. I took a check of it, and what went off, I think at the time, the book, you know, straightened his career up, or helped him to straighten him up.
And they all lived happily ever after, except that this is boxing. What did you make of what you've seen there?
Brendan has always been garrulous and opinionated, and he's gone about this the wrong way. He shouldn't have aired his grievances before he settled them, before he settled it and sorted it out with Naz and his brother Riyadh. That's obviously what's happened. There's been an invidious situation because Riyadh has come in, and his brother, obviously, he felt would be important to be alongside of him. I think Brendan's gone about it the wrong way. He should have met with him, he should have sorted the problem out. They had a big bust-up in private, and stopped sort of bitching and saying things in public. That's nasty. And then, of course, he wrote in his book, it just really hurt the guy. And now, you know, there is a breakdown in communication in the gym. They don't have any confidence in each other. And the problem is, you see, that whilst he's punishing Brendan now but in the press, Naz, there's no question about that. A number of different shows I've seen him on, he said, you know, he's a Judas and whatever. If that is the situation, they should split and go their separate ways. And they should, and you know, the point is, John and Dominic training him, you know, blood is thicker than water. And they will side with their father at the end of the day. So really, what it boils down to is Naz has got to make a decision. And it cannot be a lack of confidence in the corner in a crisis fight.
This strikes me as a particularly treacherous position, because not only do we have an argument going on between the nominal supervisor, trainer, whatever you want to call him, and the fighter, but the men stepping in to take care of it, heal it, and get the job done are the sons of the the man who has the problem with the fighter.
It's a ridiculous situation. It's a ridiculous situation, and the point is, you know, let's put our cards on the table here. Brendan Ingle has done exceptionally well out of Naseem Hamed. He's earned 75 grand a fight now. You know, if he fights 3 or 4 times a year, that's more than a guy would earn in his lifetime. So he's done very well. Apart from all of the additional stuff that has come with it, the fame, the attraction, the car deals, you know, the other fighters that have come in that he's making a profit from as well. So he's done very well out of it. And if he wants sympathy, there's not an awful lot of it around. He should have watched what he should have bit his tongue, and he shouldn't have said those things in the first place to hurt Naz. Secondly, Naz shouldn't be dragging this out. He should forget it, nail it down, and have a big, close the doors and have a big row and get it all sorted out, and either go his separate ways or not. But he can't have a situation where there's a lack of confidence in the corner, because this is the scenario. Just before you came back to me there, if there's a crisis in the corner, and if he's cut, and if he's in trouble, or if he fights an opponent somewhere down the line, there's going to be a crisis, then he's going to need Brendan, or he's going to need his corner man to help and advise him through the crisis. And there won't be an awful lot of confidence there. When I said that breaking down of confidence, there's going to be a crucial element to this. And I think that he should avoid that at all costs and try to get it sorted out before that happens.
Is the biggest single factor money?
It would appear so. You know,
nearly always is, isn't it?
It always is. I mean, listen, the bottom line in all of these rows, when you scrape all the bullshit off the top, it's money when it comes down to it.
How about the things that Naseem has told us about the one-on-one training with Dominic and John that he wasn't getting before?
Yeah, I think that's all nitpicking and bitching and fighting, and that's all unnecessary, and really I don't want to get into that. What he's got to do is he's got to sort the situation out right now and not allow a situation to develop during a fight when he'll need the confidence, and it doesn't seem to be there at the moment, does it? I mean, what does it appear like?
Well, you would worry.
Yeah.
How do you judge Naseem's state of mind after that extraordinary
He seemed, I have to take my hat off to Adam Smith. That's the best interview I've ever seen with Naseem Hamed. Well done, Adam, that was brilliant. And I've heard him talking and answering and speaking in you know, the way I've always wanted to hear him speaking. It's great. He seems very happy about it. He seems very, he's obviously very disappointed. He's very saddened by what has happened, because the 17 years of trust has now seemed to have evaporated. But he's got to sort it. He's got to be a man now. And as Brendan says, it's a crisis in his career. The crisis is to be sorted out now and not to allow it to develop.
So many champions have been through this, haven't they, Barry?
Yeah.
Do you feel it's where you find out how long your career as a champion is going to be?
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, there are a number of crises. This is one that is very important because of the psychological and physical preparation. Preparation for a fight is everything. As you said to me before, as Alex Ferguson said, you know, fail to prepare and prepare to fail. And that's the truth. In a big fight like this, preparation is everything.
And what do you judge Naseem's state of mind to be with the big fight coming up at the end of the month?
I think he's quite happy. He's in familiar surroundings. He's still got Brendan in the shadows. There's a bit of an atmosphere in the gym, but he's confident. At the end of the day, when that bell rings, Brendan walks down the steps, and John and Dominic walk down the steps. He did it on his own. And ultimately, that has always been the situation. And when he says, you know, Brendan, just let me go through the routine like everybody else, that is the truth. I mean, he don't, without his audacity,
but can he continue to work in that way from now on?
That's the situation, psychologically or mentally, whether that can continue to happen. But as far as ability is concerned, it's his ability. He's picked things up because he's very observant, he's coherent, he's able to watch moves and be able to mirror those moves. And let me just add something to this. The bottom line here is, Brendan Ingle didn't fight like that when he was a professional fighter. And there's a bit of an irony here. The guy who invented that style and invented that type of training was Harold Bomber Graham. He's approaching 40 years old and he's still having to fight to earn a living and to make a living, and he's got nothing out of it. So, I mean, he's the guy in my mind to feel sorry for. And, you know, him and Glenn Rhodes have started a gym up there in Sheffield, and you know, they'll remember back to a time when Brendan didn't train fighters like that.
We can't dispute the good that Brendan Ingle has done for a whole range of people, Barry.
Listen, 17 years of commitment is 17 years. That's the bottom line. But let's be honest, that style was designed and invented by Harold Bomber Graham.
He's a big personality in boxing, and we need Brendan Ingle.
Well,
Two questions to close. If Naseem rang you up and said, "You've been there, Barry, what do I do now?" What would you say to him, briefly?
He needs to sit down with Brendan behind closed doors, just like I said, and with Dominic and John, and say, and he needs to get Riyadh in there, and he needs to say, listen, this is what has annoyed me in the past. It must never happen again, because if it does, we're finished. Or either they say, right, listen, that's it, guys. We walk away.
And he goes, when you've been together that long.
Well, I know it is. Hey, listen, all of these things come to an end. You know as well as I do. That's the reality. So he's got to decide now at this stage, and he should do it right now. He should do it today and sort this problem out.
What do you think will happen finally?
I think they're going to go their separate ways. I don't like the situation there. There's too much bitterness and too much bad feeling. They're going to go their separate ways.
Thanks, Barry. It's back to business now for Nassim, though. Next world title defence against Wayne McCulloch from Belfast on October the 31st. Top of the bill in Atlantic City. 2 other world super bantamweight title fights coming from there as well. Britain's Richie Wenton against Marco Antonio Barrera for the WBO version, and Vianney Bungu against Danny Romero for the IBF crown. And it's all part of a special event coming up on Sky Box Office 3. The number for more information, 0990 800 888. That's 0990 800 888. We shouldn't forget the other 2, should we? What about Wenton's chances?
Let me tell you something about Wenton. I was with him yesterday, and this guy is as confident as I've ever seen him. He is looking at the fight that Barrera had when he was supposed to be a superstar, and he had this huge showdown with Junior Jones, and he was exposed. And he says, look, I have the style to beat this guy. He says, I'm not going over here to make up the numbers. I'm not going over here to provide a strong opposition. I'm going to beat this guy from pillar to post. He's convinced he'll beat him, and he's in great shape.
Bungu against Romero.
Bungu, I haven't seen him before. An explosive puncher. Romero is one of the most fantastic punchers I've ever seen. Fast puncher, combination puncher, great to watch. I can't wait to see these 2 guys meet, and it's going to be fabulous.
Lots more to come here. Do stay with us. Next up, the big deal of the week, the real deal. Holyfield against Lewis, and it looks as though it is on. Certainly the camps have been playing happy families this week, but is it a done deal?
I've been negotiating this fight with Don for must be a year and a half, but I'm pleased. He doesn't want any futures on Lennox, which means to me I can't understand it.
Welcome back in the final part of Ringside. Barry McGuigan and myself have been joined by Frank Maloney for reasons that will become apparent in just a moment. We also have the winners of our competition to come and all the news elsewhere this week in boxing. But now to the biggest deal of the week, in fact the year. It's the long-awaited showdown between Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield at heavyweight. The talking's gone on, but maybe we really are getting somewhere at last. Ian Darke with the story so far.
Lewis v Holyfield, the fight boxing needs. We'll believe it when we see it, but Don King is adamant.
The fight is on. I talked to Holyfield, he is ready. The fight is on.
Las Vegas is favourite to stage a showdown on February the 27th. But before you book your ticket, listen to Lewis's promoter, Panos Eliadis.
My feet are on the ground. It's happened to me before, time and again. I've been negotiating this fight with Don for must be a year and a half. But I'm pleased. He doesn't want any futures on Lennox, which means to me I can't understand it. So I've managed to do a good deal for Lennox, maybe too good a deal for Lennox, and I'm waiting for a surprise.
After all the delays, why the hurry to get the fight on now? Well, firstly, Don King has lost effective control of Mike Tyson, so a third Tyson-Holyfield bonanza looks remote. That means that Lewis becomes the biggest payday available for Holyfield. Lewis is saying nothing until he sees Holyfield's signature, but that could soon be forthcoming.
Don't think it's right, I guess, for myself and either Lennox, for us not to fight each other, because we are the 2 last ones that hadn't fought each other, and to consider who really the best. Things are in place. It appeals that this fight can come off, and I look forward to it.
Myself and about 40 million boxing fans around the world have been waiting a long time for this fight to happen, and now we're told if it's not done by Friday, it's not going to happen. Can you explain to us why?
Well, obviously we want to keep the pressure on Don King and Evander Holyfield, so if they think they've got so much time, there'll be no rush. So, you know, we've got to keep the pressure on, and we can't let Don and Holyfield think they can just hang it out. So that's what the deadline is. But, you know, I'm sure if, you know, Don King's meeting with Holyfield today, he's meeting with HBO today, so we'll have some news tomorrow. And, you know, it'll be up to HBO at the end of the day to say, well, we may extend it.
But surely, you know, Pana says, you know, there's just an available slot. For God's sake, this is the biggest fight since, like, you know, for almost a decade. Surely, to goodness, they're going to find a spot for them.
But this fight has to take place by March the 20th. Because of it's not going on HBO. That's where everyone's getting confused.
All right.
We're going on TV Co, the pay-per-view channel. Right. So for the best results and the American the American sort of sports season, up to March the 20th. After that, I believe the basketball playoff stay or something like that, and then we would lose a slot. But March the 20th is the deadline for this fight.
So is it going to happen?
I believe it's going to happen. Everyone's very positive. Holyfield was positive. It's just a few T's have got to be crossed and a few I's dotted, and that can be done the next 48 hours or over the weekend.
If this deadline, so-called deadline, is missed, it's surely not going to go away now. Surely not. You've even got to the stage where you're talking to each other properly. Praise the Lord, as Don King would say.
But I believe the fight's going to happen. You know, in the next 48 hours, and over Saturday and Sunday in America, it's going to be a very busy time. The points have been agreed, as Panos has said. It's just for Holyfield to accept his side now. He's got what he wants, he's just got to accept it.
It was great to hear from Evander Holyfield, although I note that he didn't make himself immediately available to come to London to put his physical weight behind this deal. And Lennox, who lives in North London, hasn't been seen for dust about this, Frank. He came back from Africa and said, well, yeah, if it happens, good. I'll be there.
Well, everyone knows
But listen, you can't... He's not certain, is he?
Everyone knows Lennox. He's a laid-back character. He doesn't get very excited.
He's disappeared on this one.
He's not disappeared. He was at the awards last night. But he's not going to comment on this because he'd done this before. I think before Christmas when we all rushed over to America, we all said something. He came out in a blaze of glory, and I felt he felt let down. So this time,
disappointed.
And it takes a lot to build him up again.
That's understandable.
So this time, you know, he says, once I know the contract's signed, I'll come out and I'll make statements, and he will appear on ringside at first to make that statement.
Fair enough. Barry and myself are getting a little long in the tooth to be told by Don King that it is going to happen on Friday and the fight's going to be on whenever, and we walk away and put that in our diary. Let's be honest.
Well, you've got to...
What's his game?
It's hard not to be cynical, isn't it?
That's right.
What's Don King's game?
Yeah.
I don't know what Don King's game is. I mean, he came in, he made a lot of... He certainly put himself up front. He certainly put it, shall we say, his credibility on the line on this one. He's come forward and said, if this fight doesn't happen, it's not down to Don King, it's not down to...
Can I put a question to you? Is it because he's lost Tyson now, and he sees as the only credible fight out there, Lewis and Holyfield, and he said to Holyfield, listen, you better accept this, mate, before it's too late, because you looked shabby the last time, and Lewis wasn't brilliant either, and the both of them are coming to the stage where maybe they're beginning to you know, go on the slippy slope. Has he said it's a crucial time now?
I think it's a lot to do. I think it's also to do with King's own makeup. You know, King is a guy that likes the limelight. He likes to be #1 in the world. If he hasn't got Tyson, he can't put Tyson and Holyfield together again. So the big fight out there is an undisputed heavyweight championship. So Don King wants to come out and say, I've delivered it to the world again. And that helps his cause.
Sorry, Frank. Is there a possibility that the goalposts are going to move yet again on Monday of next week? If Tyson does get his license back, does that create a whole other set of circumstances?
Well, I don't think because his relationship with Don King is not too good, is it?
Yeah, but his relationship with you was awful only 2 years ago, and now you're doing business together, and he's had various fallings out with other fighters. He can make a deal because he's a master deal maker.
Yeah, he's a great deal maker, but I mean, I don't think Holyfield wants to fight Lennox Lewis. There's nothing in Holyfield fighting Lennox Lewis for a third fight, nothing to prove. If Holyfield is true to his word that he wants to be undisputed champion, he has to fight Lennox Lewis. What good is a Mike Tyson fight? Other than it will swell his bank account a lot more, and, you know, that's what he wants. He's got to fight Tyson.
Briefly, does Lennox still worry about the input that Mike Tyson's availability might have in all of this?
I haven't spoken to him on that subject at the moment. You know, he's just laying cool and just waiting to see what happens over the weekend.
That's understandable. Another big exclusive coming up next week here, incidentally. Frank Warren, you know him, the promoter manager who's become embroiled in a legal battle with Don King. You know him too. That's only one of his problems right now. He'll be talking to Ian Darke.
Somebody asked him what he wanted for his birthday, and he said he wanted Frank Warren's head on a platter.
Well, you know, we know that many years ago somebody did that in the Bible. We know what happened to them. My head won't go on a platter to Don King. Let me tell you something. I do not fear Don King one bit, not in the slightest. I have no fear of him, and I will take him on like I take on anybody who comes and tries to screw me or take me out of business. I'm ready, willing, and more than able to take on a Don King and a Frank Maloney, and anybody else who they want with them. Doesn't at all worry me, doesn't intimidate me.
You taking him on?
No, it's nice to be put in the same breath as a Don King. No, I'm not taking Frank Warren on, but I think Frank Warren has lost the track and the plot from when he first started in 1981. I started with him when he had a company called Pirate Promotions. And I remember, I'll use this table as the sample. I remember him sitting us down at a table similar to this, and he said, there's a big cake on this table. The cartel at the time are controlling the whole of the cake. We just want to slice that cake so we can earn a living. And that's all I really want. But now Frank Warren has become, instead of wanting to share the slice of the cake with other people, Frank Warren has become the new cartel, and he wants to control, take the whole cake. And that's why I think he's lost the plot, and that's his big mistake.
Frank Warren made a deal which was very successful short term with Don King. Now it doesn't appear to be such a happy marriage. You step in. You're bride number 2 up the aisle with Don King. Is it going to end in tears again?
I actually haven't gone up the aisle yet with Don King. Don King has made me an offer. And I say this, if it was just about money, I would now be sitting in America signing that contract. There's a lot of things I have to consider, a lot of things I have to think about before I make that final decision. And if the decision benefits Frank Maloney, benefits the boxers I look after, then I will maybe make the marriage.
And it's healthy. It's healthy for the sport for there to be competition. Keeps the guys on their guard, you know.
It's a yes or no. Finally, do you trust him?
Do I trust anyone in boxing?
Good answer. Quick look at the week's other main headlines here now. Reminder about Ringside next week. More from the Boxing Board of Control Awards ceremony and more great interviews with Frank Warren and Chris Eubank. That's next Thursday at 8, Sky Sports 1. Before that, Saturday Fight Night from Manchester, Sky Sports 1, 9 o'clock Saturday night. Top of the bill, Sergei Devikov defending his European Super Bantamweight crown against Michael Brody. And also Wayne Rigby against Vanzi for the British lightweight title. My thanks to Barry and to Frank. Hope very much you've enjoyed it too. Amid all the argument this week, we have at least seen the other side of Prince Naseem, keeping his mind on the job. After all, he does have other mouths to feed these days.